the engineering here is very clever at entrapping every original spark connected to the source code of eternal creation. And this entrapment can happen very covertly without us fully realizing how it's really settling in all around us. And then you look back on your year and you might realize the numerous way, you know, how the system has managed to neutralize some part of your energy, most of the time due to the many contracts we are under here. Anything can become an entrapment if we are attached to it, whether it's material things, also relationships. Attachment is a way through which this system, the system is going to use it as an entry point in order to create many different emotional states within us that can be often torturous, and this includes extreme state of anxiety or exhaustion on many different levels. And the programs are using our own minds, where parts of our psyche are entrapped, but also because they've been programmed by MK Ultra with all kind of negative and low frequency conditioning. So the entrapment here is very personalized. It's custom made. So what works for me is not going to be exactly what works for you, because every original spark has their interest and preferences and personal choices that they will be making here. And none of the scenario is exactly the same. But still the process through which it tries to entrap you has a lot of universality. And trauma and fear are definitely being used as a point of access. The entrapment programs are there to slow us down, to distract us, to weaken us, to keep us away from what is truly serving us. And we often have blind angle, blind zones. We don't see exactly where it's leading, how is it gonna be played, you know. And this is heavily used, you know, because it's impossible for us to be 100% conscious about everything that's going on, because there is so much going on in the life of a real person here. So many different aspects, so many relationships, so many contracts, so much going on. And MK Ultra programs, you know, a lot disbelieve that it's not possible or that you cannot find a solution, and weakens you at problem solving here, which takes years to reclaim it, you know, like your ability to solve anything that is showing up in your reality. And you know, there is a solution for everything, because there always has been a solution for everything up to here, where we are, and there will always be a solution to anything that we can encounter here. And we manifest it from our consciousness to the material realm, where it becomes possible because we create the solution. We can connect to the many solutions as well that exist out there. So when you program your mind positively, when you decided about your goal and the resolution of anything that you're encountering in your reality, that you need to be working on to solve it, when you're very decided in the way you're solving this through all the steps sometimes that you need to be taking, every step leads you to the next step, and only like this you can really solve, you can go along and walk all the steps that will lead you to the final resolution. When you have doubt and anxiety about it, then it might take a lot more time for you to manifest the positive outcome and to connect. And in this field, the spiritless can be useful. They can sometimes stream solution to you, so it becomes conscious for you. And sometimes if you really focus, you can materialize these positive outcomes coming your way. I'm amazed by the new variables of subtle influences. It's not only endless, it's a lot of different influences, covert suggestion, that can become an entrapment around you. And it always tries to attach to pre-existing programming or attachment. There we find mind games as well, suggestions, how the spiritless can definitely be used for you to derail you, for you to spend much more time than needed in finding a solution. And sometimes the solution, they try to drive you in a direction that it's going to take much more time and effort than needed. And it's sometimes because we don't think about a more simple solution that can easily fix the problem that we are encountering. So sometimes this thought redirection has to come from us, and then we can follow again the flow of the assistant we can manifest for ourselves. So it works a lot with mind entrapment here. I think it starts with the mind, and then it tries to influence the other area, like it often becomes a spiritual type of entrapment, but it can also become a body entrapment when all these mind entrapment leads you to being depressed, being burned out. You're feeling trapped within your own body that is not really responsive anymore as it used to be. And that's telling you as well that you might have left some entrapment settling in much deeper than you were aware of. And maybe that's a good time for us there to review some attachment that we had to how we thought reality had to be for us, but in fact, that's not really what we need, right? For example, we can get a sense of safety from a house, but it's not a true safety as long as it's not really a safety within. And whatever you create, you can recreate somewhere else. It's just sometimes a lot of work to get there again, right? Which it's part of the targeting and derailment programs where you're always being forced to devote so much time, energy relentlessly. It's asking for you to do it again, because there are lots of beliefs that lead us to this exhaustion as well. But that's really how it works here. And for sure, relationships are used as big entrapments. The systems always try to pair you up with different handlers, and sometimes they use love bombing techniques, flattery to get you hooked in to them. There is definitely the beginning phase where it tries to access you on different level, also emotionally. And once the entrapment phase is complete, you're on rail for a certain amount of time, and the system always tries for you to diminish the amount of energy that you can focus where it really serves you. But and sometimes we think we know where it serves us, but it's not really there that it serves us. Nevertheless, we can always develop and learn new skills doing whatever we're building, and these cannot be really rubbed away from us, as our deprogramming journey also cannot fully, that's something that cannot be rubbed away from you. And wherever you go with it with your now consciousness. And if you deprogram, you're faster at many different things that were taking you much longer to accomplish in the past. So deprogramming is also become about becoming faster. But as soon as you become faster or have space, the system doesn't like that. The matrix in systems don't really like for you to have space, time, and it always tries to hijack your ability to self-nurture yourself and to be kind to yourself. And even if there might be periods of time where it was easier to practice self-care, and then somehow we tend to forget forget to really replenish, or it's just too much. Sometimes it's not that you forget, it's just that the targeting is so relentless that is just a lot to cope with, and it's every day hitting you, and there is only so much a being can cope with at a certain at a certain moment on their path. So whenever I notice this entrapment, maybe it's time to review and rethink, look back and see all the ways that every day your programming is being triggered. The system knows, like, and it plays on your programming, and your programming is going to be different than mine. Yeah, you prefer, or you need to reassure yourself to do things before you're able to do other things. So we find there that there is an order through which we can do things that makes us rather slow or less slow. And sometimes you manage that when you deprogram, you can skip some steps that you were previously needing to be doing according to your wires, but sometimes you have to go through all the steps that make no sense for somebody else. They're like, why don't you go directly to this? Well, it's because I'm dealing with my MK Ultra programming, and it's a very specific order that I can, see myself out of this and take myself out of this. So as soon as we deprogram, disengage from anything that was keeping us busy, part of our time or energy, it's always insidious how it's trying to, trap you one layer deeper with the newly awakened layers within you. Now, I feel part of the complexity of our experience here is also about cross-dimensional entrapment, and this is a real thing we have to be dealing with. That explains also so much why some of the original sparks here are not so receptive to deprogramming because being trapped or fractured on so many levels that go way beyond our experience or daytime experience here. Then our negative core beliefs as well are used as part of this deep entrapment. I don't know, I've looked at so many different reels, especially also, I mean, celebrities are also are not an exception to that, because when you study their lives, you can really feel, you will always feel the entrapment walls around, an original spark of creation. Even for the one working on deprogramming. And breaking through the layers one after the other, right? It's like breaking free out of the prison, but there are many layers, many walls to go through. First through the mind, and the new ways of entrapment are engineered in covert ways, and that's when it gets the most complex to spot. You don't even realize you are entrapped until you reach a certain point of no return where you understand you're being forced to change things in your direct reality. Whether it's about some attachment that you have, and you weren't realizing that it was not going to go this way. Guilt and shame are also used as part of the entrapment in frequency. So creating stories, a lot of spiritless handler in our families, for example, try to trap us in this kind of low frequency programming that are directly tied to our self-esteem. And so it's entrapping you in this false story, often reversing things upside down. Or it tries to entrap you in that belief that it's not possible, that you have to accept certain things. And that's when we go under contract. But it becomes possible from the moment we decide it is possible. Like, I look back into my past and sometimes I wonder how was I managing with being distracted so much in some delusional storylines and still keeping it all together in my life at that moment, which I have more responsibilities now, but I was managing because I had decided it was possible to follow my delusion. Somehow, when you don't follow the delusion, it looks like it's a little bit more complicated, but does it really has to be? It's really about the things we accept. because of programming, because we think we have to accept them. But the moment you stop accepting them, then other doors really open. And then suddenly you're like, why was I going on this line of time, and where would it lead me? Was it really my choice? Or was it a choice based on belief, or me holding on to things I really need to be letting go of? And it feels good to let go, especially if you feel like sometimes that's only when you start to let go that you can feel again a little bit, a glimpse of enthusiasm that you have not felt for such a long time. That's gonna tell you that maybe it's a direction for you to go towards and to. Now, we find a lot of suggestions that want to consolidate this entrapment around us. So it just becomes a lot and intense. It tries to trigger programming within us. Perfectionism programming is also a way we find ourselves entrapped here, or being exhaustive. So being, feeling the need to be complete, like exhaustive. But this also can tie to programming where, we end up reading books that maybe are not the best fit for us. We can be entrapped in distraction and layers of it that, occupy a part of our time and help us deal with some of our anxieties. So we really have to reclaim bit after bit, realigning with what we really want to do. Like, if you let this happen, you end up doing a lot of things that, feel like a burden to you. And maybe at the beginning they weren't feeling like a burden, but maybe 10 years after 10 years, you've reached spiritual exhaustion, and that's a time when maybe it's time to get outside of the loop, like like realigning priorities. What would I be doing if I had 1 year left here? That should rearrange our priorities quite much, right? This realm is very skilled at making us forget. Memories are being wiped as well, and there are memory wiping drugs in our system, also due to our nighttime activities. And you can sometimes trace them and feel them in your own memory. So it doesn't make it easier to stay connected to what really matters, as it's constantly being wiped and you're receiving so many suggestions and you're facing so many handling influences for you to forget what you want to do here with the time that you have and the space. And we are here, so we might as well make it our own way why we are here. And MK Ultra has implanted a lot of beliefs linking time to money and money to time, and retributing handlers also on the scene who have matrix money, retribution that makes them be faster sometimes than others here, but usually they are also deeply entrapped on many different levels because they have a lot of handling jobs to carry, and it's a deep entrapment and a deep entanglement, and they will never be fully on track and definitely never be on their highest possible timeline. So to get outside of this spiritual and mind entrapment, we really need to be realigning with, the celestial laws of original source code creation. And that's when boundary setting comes handy to resist the entrapment that can lead us to spiritual exhaustion. So as me, you can ask for all entrapments, whether conscious, unconscious, subconscious, their seeds, their roots, their nets, their tendrils, their ropes and webs, to appear in clear light and full transparency so that they can be worked through, processed, and revoked now and for eternity.